welcome to part 2 of this tutorial. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to do the shading and lighting and After Effects on this character. So let's start with the eyes, with the hair shading. And what we're going to do here is make a new animation folder. Let me just delete this and start over to show you how I did that. I come over to the timeline and click new animation folder, and it'll appear over here. And I'm just going to call this shading. And I'm going to put in a vector layer. Now before we begin shading the hair, I'm just going to shade static. Static is the part that doesn't move at all, and I want to put some shading on it so that we can know how the rest of the shading should look. And I'm going to do very minimal shading. What I will do is get a new raster layer and go to the blending mode tab and select overlay. Now when I draw a black line, it doesn't show up as black. It darkens the color of what it's over automatically. So I'm just going to take a curved line I'm just going to take a curved line. Even though this isn't a vector layer, it'll make it more even, and I'm going to make the shading. So now I'm going through and filling everything in and fixing whatever doesn't look quite right to me. Oops, it should be a black colored thing here. So I accidentally selected skin tone. Alright, we now have the shading on the static layer. Now we know what the rest of the shading should look like. We have our light on this side. So let's now go up to the shading layer, and we have a frame in here, but as you can see we can't do anything in it yet. So what we're going to do is go over to the animation tab, the timeline here, and right click one and select one, and now you can draw in this frame. And so to make the shading here the same as the shading we have in static, we will select the animation folder, go to blending mode and turn it to overlay, and now it automatically makes the color darker. So now we're going to do basically the same thing that we did with the hair, only with shading. So I'm going to go through with the curve line tool and make the shading that I want to have here. I'm going to go into time lapse for this, so I will be right back. Alright, that's our first shade layer, and now we are going to follow the same principle that we did for doing the animation layers, and we're going to right click and click duplicate layer, move forward one frame, right click and select frame 2. Now we will go in and move this new frame we have here to match the movements of the hair. Okay, those are the first 3 frames. This will be pretty straightforward, so I think for the rest of the hair shading line work here, I'm going to do it all in time-lapse. So enjoy the music that I have playing during that, and I will see you once I have these lines done. Okay, we have all of our frames done now. So, now for the second part. As you probably noticed, you cannot use the fill tool on vector layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and rasterize all of them. And what I'm doing is I right click them and click rasterize. And I only do this once I'm finished with the animation so that I don't have to go back and edit anything. And now that we have rasterized everything, we make sure that this is still set to black, and it is, and we go through and color it all in. So I'm going to do that real quick. Alright, that's done. So now we have the shading, and if we want it to be a little lighter, we just lower the opacity here, and I'm going to turn it down to about 60. I think that looks good. So now we have the shading on the hair. But before we finish up with the hair, I would like to give her a slight highlight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new animation folder and put a vector in it. Right click to activate, call it shine, and set the animation layer, the animation folder to overlay. And then I'm going to make the color white and go over to her hair and make this little arc here. And I'm just going to go through and make sure that this arc stays consistent throughout the animation. This shouldn't take long, so I'll be right back. Okay, apparently it didn't need any editing at all. It doesn't seem to move, even when the animation is moving, so I'm just going to fill it in. And it doesn't need to be animated, but I don't feel like taking it out of the animation layers, so I'm just going to leave it. And there we have the hair with shading and lighting. We can tone down the light in the same way. Okay, that is all done. And now I'm going to go on to shading the eyes. And I think I'm going to make a new layer for this. So new animation folder and eye shade. And I'll make a folder in there because we're probably going to be doing a lot of things here. And then I think I'll make a color palette for us to choose from. We have her normal eye color. We have the shade. And that's pretty much all we need. So I'm going to move it in close so that I can see it, give it an outline so it doesn't blend in or anything. And let's get to work. So basically this won't require any weird vector stuff like the hair did. So I'm just going to use the pen tool and put in the shading. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Okay, we'll fill it in like that. Okay, that looks good. And I'm gonna give her pupil here. And then I'm gonna make a new layer, set it to overlay, and get a very light pink. And well, actually, this is probably going to have to be add glow. So I have selected that, set this to add glow. No, I guess it's because it's not on the right layer, so I'm just gonna have to do this manually. What I think I will use, and this is totally up to you, however you like to do your eyes, but I think I'm going to use the spray can tool. And now one last layer will be the highlights of her eyes. Actually, I think I'll do one more layer, and this will be the shading of the eye itself. So let's select only white, and I'm going to take the border away just because I like doing that. And put in this blue-gray color I have, and then lower the opacity, and that is one eye shade done. So now I'm going to go through and do the rest in time lapse. Okay, looks like that is done. Let's take a look at it. I think that looks really good. Okay, so we have our animation. I'm gonna put it all in a folder like this, just real quick, so that we can work around it very easily. And okay, we have done all the shading and lighting, and now what we're going to do is the effects. So let's say that this girl, I'm just going to load a quick background here. Let's say that this girl is standing in front of a nice blue sky. So we have the girl here and we have her background, but we do not have the effects we need to really bring her into the shot. And those effects would make it look like she's actually there, like this is a really nice daytime scene, but if you take the background away and you put it back, no matter what, she looks the same. She's not really a part of the scene. And what we need for that are glows. So what I was doing before, and this doesn't work, was just using the airbrush tool, making a glow and lowering the opacity. But this doesn't work very well. What you have to do is set it to overlay. And then you can set it to a certain color, like let's try yellow. Oops. So now it's like a yellow light on her. So let's select, well actually we won't do a selection because that will change as she moves. So let's just have a yellowish glow on her, well more of a blue glow on her from this side. And down here we're going to have just a white sort of thing going on. And I usually add these effects in my movie making program, but I have a light right here that I made, and I'm just going to import it and set it to add glow, and then lower the opacity. And now when we move the girl, she can get behind these light rays and really look like she's a part of the scene. So I'm going to move the light rays over just a little bit. Now these are the effects that I'm going to be doing for this background, and I'm just going to put all of this into a folder for now and hide it, but I'm hiding it so that I can show you how to do her in a different background. Let's see how we would put her in a night shot. As you can see, it looks sort of awkward. She's all lit up and bright and vibrant, even though it is obviously really late at night. So how would we make her look like she is actually at night? And what we do is we right click to select a layer we want to get and hover over new correction layer, and we get hue, saturation, luminosity, and we can adjust these as we like. The hue adjusts the color, and we're going to set that back to 0 because we don't want to adjust the color. The saturation basically adjusts the vibrancy. Turn it up high and it's all neon. Turn it down low and it's black and white. And we're going to set that a little bit lower, and then we're going to set brightness really low. It really depends on your night shot whether you want it to, the saturation to be really high or really low. For this one, I always like it to be a little bit higher, and then I set the brightness down, and I'm actually going to make it sort of dingy, so sorry for going back and forth. And then we have this correction layer, but it makes this background look very dingy. So what we're going to do is we're going to rasterize it, go to edit, tonal correction, and we are going to basically undo what we did in this layer only. Okay, so now we have this correction layer that makes it look like she's in a night scene. And what I've done is I've made a new layer here, and I'm going to do what I did before, which is make an overlay layer and then use the spray can tool and make some ambient lighting and shading. Also, I just like stars, so I'm gonna put in some stars. Okay, now we have lots of pretty stars going on there. And I'm going to get another layer, and I'm going to set it to add glow. And I'm going to get a light blue and put a little bit of a glow on her. Like, oops, not sparkles, glow. So I need this soft spray can mode. Alright, now she looks like she's in a night shot, and we didn't have to go to each individual frame and apply effects, we just put it all over her. I actually like the night shot of her better than the daytime shot. So let's see what we're going to do here. What we're going to do is we are going to separate this into girl, which is the foreground, and the background. And it looks like we're going to have to take the correction layer out. So duplicate layer and put it down here. Okay. And now we have the background. And we can minimize this, bring it back, minimize this and bring it back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide paper so that we have transparency back here, and then I'm going to render the animation. To render it, you go to File, Export Animation, and you can choose Image Sequence, Animated GIF, or Movie. And for this, I'm doing Image Sequence. So I'm gonna put it in my how-to folder. So let me go there real quick. And once you have that, you can scale it down, up or down if you want, or you could select how many frames you want this to render, and I want it to render all of the frames, so I'm just going to press OK. And now it's going through and rendering everything. Next, I'm going to render the background as an image file, and I'm going to put the two together, and they will end up looking like this. Alright guys, that is it for this tutorial. I hope these two videos were helpful to you guys. And I really enjoyed making this. I love making tutorials, and I love animating, so this was really great. If you didn't see part 1 of this video, I have a link to it in the description or in the video. Yeah, there's going to be a link at the end of the video to it, but just so you know, it's also in the description. And yeah, that's about it. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.